Over the sad state of modern Satanism. Now, in order to go over the sad state of modern Satanism, we first have to form a picture of what is Satanism. Satanism is not the worship of the devil, okay? That's what you have to understand. Satan is a representation of the indwelling force which causes man to strive and achieve. It's sort of like the will to power, the Nietzschean will to power. People that have read Anton LaVey's books would be familiar with this. Now, in my opinion, if a religion does not adhere to very basic tenets, which are the 9 satanic statements, the 9 satanic sins, and the 11 satanic rules of the earth, maybe not the satanic rules of the earth, but definitely the 9 satanic statements and the 9 satanic sins, it's not a satanic religion. Okay, and people will go, well, how can you say that? And I'm not necessarily a fan of Anton LaVey. I don't think Anton LaVey was particularly intelligent, but what you have to understand is he's the one that codified Satan, or Satanism, into a legitimate religion. Prior to Anton LaVey, Satanism was an aberration and it was a freaking nightmare and a fake, a shade of the Inquisitors, okay? It did not exist as a true religion. It existed as reverse Christianity. Satanism, religious Satanism, is not simply a reversed Christianity. It is an authentic religion. I would say an unfinished religion, but it is still an authentic religion. Now, the 9 satanic statements are: number 1, Satan represents indulgence and not abstinence. Number 2, Satan represents vital existence instead of spiritual pipe dreams. Number 3, Satan represents undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit. Number 4, Satan represents kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates. Number 5, Satan represents vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. Number 6, Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for psychic vampires. Now, people that don't know what psychic vampires are should read the Satanic Bible and find out what a psychic vampire is. Number 7, Satan represents man as another animal. Sometimes better, more often worse than those that walk on all fours. So, Satan represents man as just another animal. Sometimes better, more often worse than those that walk on all fours. Who, because of his divine and spiritual and intellectual development, has become the most vicious animal of all. Satan represents all of the so-called sins as they lead to physical, mental, or emotional gratification. Satan has been the best friend of the church has ever had, as he has kept it in business all these years. Now, these are available at churchofsatan.com. If you want to learn about Satanism, go to the source, okay? Now, I wouldn't say that the Church of Satan is necessarily the best source, but it is definitely the source with the most information. I actually would say Carla LaVey's First Satanic Church is the best source, but they don't really have a lot on their website. So what are the 9 satanic sins? Well, they were copyrighted in 1987. So stupidity. Pretentiousness is number 2. Solipsism is number 3. Okay. Self-deceit is number 4. Herd conformity is number 5. Lack of perspective is number 6. Forgetfulness of past orthodoxies is number 7. And you can read these. Arrogance or counterproductive pride is number 8. 9, a lack of aesthetics. Okay? People should understand these things. The 11 satanic rules of the earth. Number 1, do not give opinions or advice unless you're asked. Number 2, do not tell your troubles to others unless you are sure they want to hear them. Number 3, when you are in another's lair, show him respect or else do not go there. Number 4, if a guest in your lair annoys you, treat him cruelly and without mercy. Number 5, Do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal. Number 6. Do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and he cries out to be relieved. Number 7. Acknowledge the power of magic if you have employed it successfully to obtain your desires. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all you have obtained. Number 8. Do not complain about anything to which you need not subject yourself. Number 9, do not harm little children. One more time, do not harm little children. When people say that, Satanism is all about, abusing kids. No, it's not. Number 10, do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for food. Number 10, do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for food. This is important because a lot of people like to claim Satanism is about animal sacrifice. It is not. And in fact, who would you make a sacrifice to? Because the thing is, in Satanism, if you read the book, the Satanic Bible, God is seen as the balance factor in nature and unconcerned with human life, human concerns. So you wouldn't sacrifice any animals to God because you don't worship God, okay? And you wouldn't sacrifice them to Satan because there is no Satan as an anthropomorphic being as the Christian church or the Islamic people would say. That type of Satan or Shayatan does not exist in the satanic, the world of Satanism. When walking in open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not, destroy him. Now, these need more elaboration, and that's why you should read the Satanic Bible, the Satanic Witch, the Satanic Rituals. And in my opinion, the more you want to read the Devil's Notebook and Satan Speaks, I believe it is, by Anton LaVey. I used to own all these books. I lost them when I was homeless. But the point is, you want to get as much elaboration on it as possible and understand the depth that Anton LaVey and other Satanists are speaking about or were speaking about. Modern Satanism has become a joke. I don't believe original Satanism was a joke. I believe it was a fledgling religion that was coming about. Now, I'm going to move on. So I'm going to go over important figures in modern Satanism. You have Anton Sandor LaVey, born Howard Stanton Levy. He was an American author, musician, yada, yada, yada. This is his stats here. His religion was Satanism. His spouse was Carol Lansing, then Blanche Barton. Partner was Diane Haggerty. He had 3 daughters, Carla LaVey and Zena Schreck. Okay, so let's see. Denomination, Church of Satan, known for the Satanic Bible and the Church of Satan. Author, musician, priest. Historian of Satanism Gareth J. Medway describes LaVey as a born showman, with anthropologist Jean Le Fontaine describing him as a colorful figure of considerable personal magnetism. The academic scholars of Satanism, Per Faxneld and Jesper Agard Peterson, described LaVey as the most iconic figure in the satanic milieu. LaVey was labeled many things by journalists, religious detractors, and Satanists alike, including the father of Satanism, the St. Paul of Satanism, the Black Pope, and the evilest man in the world. LaVey was born Howard Stanton Levy on April 11, 1930 in Chicago. His father, Michael Joseph Levy, from Chicago, married LaVey's mother, Gertrude Augusta Coltron, born to a Georgian father and a Ukrainian mother, both of whom immigrated to Ohio in 1893 and became naturalized. A lot of people like to say that Anton LaVey hid his Jewish heritage. He did not. There is an interview where he explains that he had family, and at the time, that was very religious, of the Jewish faith and the Christian faith. And he said, it's not really doing anything for them. They're just as miserable as everybody else. Okay? So he'd never tried to hide that he was Jewish. Anton played piano in a Baptist church as a boy and played oboe in high school. He attended something high school, yada, 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 meetings on Sunday. So it was his when he saw how people behaved at these church meetings that he realized, religion is a sham. Okay? According to his biography, LaVey moved back to San Francisco in 1950. LaVey met Carol Lansing. They married the following year when Lansing was 15 years old. Lansing gave birth to Anton LaVey's daughter, Carla LaVey, born in 1952. In order to avoid the Korean draft, he studied criminology at the City College of San Francisco. LaVey then attained a job as a photographer for San Francisco Police Department. Some of these things have been, how can I put this? People have tried to disprove or prove these things. It doesn't really matter in the long run, but where he worked for 3 years, he dabbled as a psychic investigator looking into 800 calls referred to him by the San Francisco Police Department. Later biographers questioned whether LaVey ever worked for the San Francisco PD, as there are no records substantiating the claim. During this period, LaVey was friends with a number of writers associated with Weird Tales magazine. Okay, so Rupert Barbour Johnson, Clark Ashton Smith appears in Blanche Barton's biography, The Secret Life of a Satanist. LaVey and Carol divorced in 1960 after LaVey became involved with Diane Haggerty. Haggerty and LaVey never married. However, she was his companion for 24 years and mothered his second daughter, Zina Galatia Schreck, maiden name LaVey. At the end of their relationship, Haggerty sued for palimony. Anton LaVey became a local celebrity in San Francisco through his paranormal research and live performances as an organist, blah, blah, blah. LaVey formed a group called the Order of the Trapezoid, which later evolved into the governing body of the Church of Satan. LaVey began presenting Friday night lectures on occult and rituals. A member of the circle suggested that he had the basis for a new religion, according to LaVey himself, on Walpurgisnacht. April 30th, 1966, he ritualistically shaved his head, allegedly in the tradition of ancient executioners, declaring the founding of the Church of Satan, and proclaimed 1966 as year 1, Anno Satanas. Okay. Later life and death. In 1980, the FBI interviewed LaVey in connection with an alleged plot to murder Ted Kennedy. LaVey told the agents that most of the church's followers were fanatics, occultists, and weirdos. So think about this. LaVey told the agents that most of the church's followers were fanatics, cultists, and weirdos. The agents reported that LaVey's interest in the Church of Satan is strictly from a monetary point of view. Okay? And that he spent most of his time furnishing interviews, writing material, and lately has become interested in photography. In July 1984, Haggerty issued a restraining order against LaVey, which he did not contest. LaVey's third and final companion was Blanche Barton on November 1st, 1993. Barton gave birth to Satan Xerxes Karnacki LaVey Barton. Barton succeeded LaVey as the head of the Church of Satan after his death and has since stepped down from the role and handed it to Magus Peter H. Gilmore, who I forgot to put in as an influential person. According to his family, Anton LaVey died on October 29, 1997 at St. Mary's Medical Center in San Francisco of pulmonary edema. However, his death certificate lists October 31st, 1997. He was taken to St. Mary's, a Catholic hospital, because it was the closest available. A secret satanic funeral attended by invitation only was held in Colma, after which LaVey's body was cremated. On February 2nd, 1998, his estranged daughter, Zina Schreck, and her then-husband Nicholas Schreck published a 9-page fact sheet in which they endorsed Wright's earlier allegations and claimed that many more of LaVey's stories about his life had been false. LaVey included references to other esoteric and religious groups throughout his writings, claiming, for instance, the Yazidis and Knights Templars were carriers of the satanic tradition that had been passed down to the 20th century. Scholar of Satanism Per Faxneld believed that these references were deliberately tongue-in-cheek and ironic. However, he noted that many Satanists who had read LaVey's writings had taken them to be literal historical claims about the past. Although he regularly derided older esoterists, LaVey also relied upon their work, for instance, making use of John Dee's Enochian system. Faxneld, therefore, believed that there was a tension in LaVey's thought between his desire to establish prestigious satanic predecessors and his desire to be seen as founder of the first real satanic society. Dyrendell argued that LaVey partook in conspiracy culture as he grew older, for he was greatly concerned with modern society's impact on individual agency. LaVey was conservative. Keep that in mind. He was conservative. He was even pro-life. If you read his books, Satan Speaks and The Devil's Notebook, he states that he's pro-life, okay? And even in the Satanic Bible, he makes a pro-life statement, which will be important later on. And his attitude to law and order. So LaVey was very conservative in his attitude to law and order and insisted that the Church of Satan abide by the law, okay, in all of its actions. He supported eugenics and believed it would be a necessity in the future. LaVey hated rock and heavy metal music, with or without satanic lyrics, and often expressed his distaste for it. Historian, blah, 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 academic scholars, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care about his reception. Politics. LaVey was a friend of James Mandel, leader of the neo-fascist National Renaissance Party. Due to Mandel's opposition to Christianity, he sought new religious ideas and was attracted to an infusion of fascism and Satanism. In popular culture, LaVey related books, blah, 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 Satanic Bible, Satanic Ritual, Satanic Witch, The Devil's Notebook, Satan Speaks. I actually believe The Devil's Notebook and Satan Speaks, along with the Satanic Bible and the Satanic Rituals, are where you're going to get the best insight into Satanism. Misanthropa, blah, 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 and we're going to move on here. Diane Haggerty, second from left, and Stanton LaVey, far left, at Anton LaVey Art Incarnate auction. So Diane Haggerty was born July 10th in Chicago, Illinois, died in 1942, died July 23rd, 2022, nationality American. Other names: Diane LaVey, Diana Hall, known for Church of Satan, board member, chairperson of Geographical Society of Graphological Society, so Handwriting Analysis Society of San Francisco, yada yada yada. Haggerty, also known as Diane. There's some speculation that she may have actually wrote the Satanic Bible, but that's speculation. That's not been proven. So she appears in many of the filmed rituals of the church, blah, 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 blah. You can read this on your own. But she is important due to her influence in modern Satanism. Carla Maritza LaVey is the daughter and eldest child of Church of Satan founder Anton LaVey. She is an American radio host, former high priestess of her father's organization, and founder and administrator of the First Satanic Church in San Francisco, California. Okay, so Carla has been featured on television, on radio, and in news and magazine articles, including Fox News. She has lectured on the subject of Satanism around the world. She has been seen in films Satanist, The Devil's Mass, Witchcraft, Biography. Carla Lanson, blah, blah, blah. She has two half-siblings, Zena Schreck and Satan Xerxes Karnacki LaVey. In 1979, Carla was dispatched to Amsterdam to oversee the International Church of Satan headquarters. During this time, Carla was given the title of High Priestess of the Church of Satan. October 29, 1997, Anton LaVey died of pulmonary edema. Being the next of kin to Anton LaVey, Carla held a press conference on November 7, 1997, to announce her father's death. It was at this time that Blanche Barton and Carla LaVey announced that they would run the Church of Satan jointly as co-priestesses. That's always a mistake. You can't have women working together like that. Several days after Anton LaVey's death, Barton produced a handwritten will claiming that LaVey had left all of his belongings, properties, writings, and royalties, including the Church of Satan, to Barton's toddler son, who had been fathered by LaVey. The entire LaVey estate, Barton claimed, was to be put in a trust for the son managed by Barton. Carla contested this will, and the San Francisco probate court subsequently decreed the will to be invalid. A few years later, on October 31st, 2001, a court settlement was reached in which Anton's belongings, intellectual properties, and royalties would be split equally among his three children, Carla, Zena, and LaVey's son. Okay, the settlement also stipulated that Barton would receive the corporation known as the Church of Satan. Under Blanche Barton's leadership, the Church of Satan was moved to New York City, and Barton handed the corporate title over to Peter Gilmore, who now runs the business with his wife Peggy Nadramia. Okay. In 1999, Carla decided to continue her father's work by starting her own satanic organization in his memory called the First Satanic Church, running it out of San Francisco just as her father had. Currently, Carla LaVey promotes and sponsors live satanic events, shows, and concerts. She also hosts a weekly radio show in San Francisco. She is married. Okay. Zena Galatia Schreck, known professionally by her mononymous artist name Zena, is a Berlin-based American visual and musical artist, author, and spiritual leader of the Sethian Liberation Movement, which she founded in 2002. She was born in San Francisco, occupation singer, songwriter, musician, composer, yada yada yada. Okay, I did a whole video series on her if people are interested. I consider her to be the most influential person in modern Satanism. Zena was raised with the Church of Satan and came to international prominence early in life as the organization's spokesperson, defending the church during the 80s. She resigned her position in 1990, severed ties with her father, and renounced LaVeyan Satanism. So keep that in mind. She renounced Satanism. She is not a Satanist, despite what people try to say. Her religious path eventually led to teaching Tibetan Tantric Buddhism. Zena was born in San Francisco to LaVey and Diane Haggerty, blah, blah, blah. Zena was subjected to hundreds of journalistic reports. Anton LaVey biographer Burton H. Wolfe described a 13-year-old girl, Zena, in his introduction of the Satanic Bible. Zena, remembered by people who saw the famous photo of the Satanic Church baptism as a tiny tot, but now a gorgeously developed teenager. This is from Burton H. Wolfe. Now a gorgeously developed teenager attracting a growing pack of wolves of the male human or the human male variety. In an interview with the Guardsman, she describes becoming a mother at the age of 14 while living in a stifling dysfunctional family. And that's the thing. You have to remember that. The LaVeys were obviously a dysfunctional family if you take a look at it. People don't understand that. Zena was married. That doesn't mean the Church of Satan is... It doesn't take credit away from the Church of Satan or anything like that or what have you, but Zena was married to her Radio Werewolf band partner and frequent collaborator Nicholas Schreck from 1988 to 2015. And 2019, both parties issued jointly written public statement on their respective websites after having been separated since 2007. They agreed to amicably divorce. Early artistic influences. Zena worked as a photographer, visual artist. As a teenager and young adult, she trained and studied in theater, drama, and film. At 16 years of age, Xena passed the high school equivalency exam, which enabled her to leave high school early and begin working legally and enroll in the City College of San Francisco, majoring in drama. Okay. In addition to the City College of San Francisco's drama department, she also received instruction from Stella Adler Studio of Acting, Eric Morris, acting coach, Viola Spolins, whatever. I know nothing about acting and don't care. If you care, you can read it. The importance of lineage as a vehicle for passing down metaphysical energy guides Xena's ritualistic art. She traces the lineage of her magical art to the mentorship of her godfather, filmmaker Kenneth Anger. During the 1960s and 70s, Anger transmitted the influences of Curtis Harrington, Jean Cocteau, and Maya Deren on his own work to Xena during her childhood and adolescence. Xena also became a longtime friend of director Curtis Harrington, and who cast her as a Dietrich-like character in his last film, Usher 2000, Religious Groups. So, as you noted, Xena became High Priestess, yada yada yada. She eventually renounced it. She had converted to Tantric Buddhism in the Drakung, Karma, Kagyu, and Nying whatever lineages, as well as her status as a spiritual leader of the Sethian Liberation Movement, Church of Satan in the 1980s. We already went through this. It's just rehashing. Leaving the Church of Satan, rehashing, Temple of Set. She was also the High Priestess of the Temple of Set, which was founded by Michael Aquino. Sethian Liberation Movement is what she leads now. Okay, other media appearances. You can read this all on your own. I don't find this to be particularly important. Music and performance. Now, this is actually interesting. Xena and Nicholas Schreck tried very ardently to create a cohesive Satanism by blending it with Northern European tradition and things like that in the 1980s. It was a wonderful idea, and I think the closest that there ever was to a cohesive Satanism was under Xena. Okay, so on August, a cohesive Satanism that was similar to Satanism, because there's a lot of holes in LaVeyan Satanism, and Xena and Nicholas were trying to fill those holes and make it cohesive. Okay, now when she left the Church of Satan, that stopped, and I think that the Church of Satan really liberalized Satanism hardcore, and that's one of the reasons you have the sad state of modern Satanism. But on August 8th, 1988, a large gathering covered by Strand Theater in San Francisco for the film debut of the mockumentary about Charles Manson. The event, planned and carried out by Nicholas Schreck, was the largest single gathering of its kind in history. Xena spoke at the beginning of the rally, and film of her baptism was played in 2011 interview with Xena for French music magazine Obscura. She stated that the 8888 would be the only performance that Nicholas Evil Wilhelm, the original Radio Werewolf percussionist, and I ever performed live together that marked the transition point spanning 3 phases of Radio Werewolf. Nicholas Schreck and Evil Wilhelm collaboration, solo Nicholas Schreck phase, and the Nicholas Schreck Xena phase. But at that one time, they actually did all 3 perform together as Radio Werewolf. It also featured Non, which is a National Socialist think tank, Amok Press, and Chris Force, a musician who at the time owned the Strand Theater. Geraldo Rivera's Devil Worship Exposing Satan's Underground film crew filmed the event, as well as interviews with and involved to use for the network special. This is about her time in the Radio Werewolf. You can read this on your own. I've gone through this in the other video I made about her, I believe. So this is about Xena Schreck's teachings and how you can become a student of Xena. This is from her website, xenaschreck.com. So, about Xena's teachings on Tantra. Okay. So, Xena's teachings are reflective of her tantric training and practices as a yogini, which is a female yogi, with Vajra, I can't pronounce these words, and Shaktiism. Xena has been a practicing Buddhist for over 20 years. She undertook Tibetan Buddhism and blah, 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 receiving training, yang, zhan, zhong, tong. Okay. But, so she guides through the death process. You can read about the Bardo Thulul if you want. So her teachings on Sethianism incorporates her personal practices and teachings of decades-long study practice in her personal gnosis of Gnostic Setian theurgy, meaning Gnostic Setian magic. Theurgy is the fancy term for magic, working with God's energy. Okay? Stemming from the ancient worship and the primordial magical practices of the Egyptian deity Set. In no way do Xena's teachings of the deity known as Seth or Suktek have anything to do with the California corporation called the Temple of Set, nor the Typhonian Order of the Temple of Ordo Temple Orientis, or any other misguided Aleister Crowley Thelema-inspired permutations thereof, nor with any other occult groups using Seth. So what she is saying is she is not a Satanist. She is not a Setian as in the Temple of Set, and she does not wish to be associated with those things. So people that are constantly trying to call her a Satanist are mistaken. This is about her early life. You can read this on your own. Her renunciation of Satanism, her rebirth in 2013. To apply for in-person or Skype consultations, this is how you would do that. So I'm going to end this video here and begin with more influential figures in Satanism in the next video.